A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, Christmas is coming, less than 2 months away, and some of us will go to church on Christmas Day or on Christmas Eve, and honouring God for some of the deeper appreciation that we might have. But lots of Christians remain in what you might call the shallow end. And our next guest is taking us to a new level with some insights today on how to make the most of Christmas with non-Christian family. Julianne Laird is hosting a webinar coming up dealing with this very issue, and there might be lots of dimensions to it. Julianne is the Director of Missional Engagement for City to City Australia. She's also the Oceania Co-Regional Director for the Lausanne Movement and has been part of Arrow Leadership for the last 18 years. Julianne, a special welcome back to 2020.
Yeah, thank you so much. Does sound like I'm pretty old, though.
No, you're not. Hey, Julianne, Christmas trees and beautifully wrapped Christmas presents and parties.
Yep.
The celebration looks a little different, doesn't it, when you have some non-Christians in your family? Is this your experience?
Well, it sort of depends on each family on how that looks. So some families are fairly hostile and you might be the only Christians, or you might have a mostly Christian family with a couple of non-Christians. So it really does vary in each family. And so part of it is having a think about where you start. What's the starting point for most families?
You know, my tendency is to think that when we've got those non-Christian family members around, and, we love the idea of family get-togethers and reuniting, it's like family reunions, but we can tend to play it low-key on our Christian faith. How are you seeing things?
Yeah, I think because there is generally a bit more warmness to the Christian faith, I think this Christmas especially is a bit more of an opportunity that we might not have had over the last few years. And I think there is a point where we're just starting to say, yeah, okay, this is who I am. And this is part of what I want to celebrate. And yeah, there might be some permission giving a bit more than other years.
Is it the case, you think, that sometimes family members who are non-Christian, and it's going to depend on your family, but sometimes the non-Christian member comes knowing they can press a few buttons here and being a little antagonistic just to stir the pot. Do you think that's a typical thing that can happen?
I think every family is different, and every dynamic that you have in a family is quite different. So sometimes siblings can be a bit more pressing buttons. Yeah, each family member is different. Some non-Christian family members are very respectful of the Christian faith that they might have grown up in, but just have taken a different turn. So, yeah, it is interesting starting from completely different spots where everybody, is starting from. So it's really just a chance to rethink things and think about, are there some things that we can do to move things forward?
You've got your webinar coming up on the 24th of November, how to make the most of Christmas with non-Christian family. How are you hoping to do that? Is this like, let me give you 5 points that you can do, or how are you hoping to unpack the whole circumstance? Because so many people will be in this boat.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've actually had a lot of sign-ups already. I do want it to be a bit open, so I'm going to be using some sort of problem-solving tools. So starting from where you're at and how do you move it. Part of it is setting up a bit of a culture that people are a bit more receptive. And so we're seeing that in the wider context, people are a bit more open. But also, how do you set up the culture in your own home or somebody else's home that allows people to be a bit more receptive as well? So, yeah, I'm actually hoping to go through a bit of a problem-solving process. And we will break up into groups, and I'd love to hear people's ideas, because some people have tried things, haven't worked, or they might have tried things and it's really just been lovely. I think we'll try and do a bit of a brainstorming session because every family is different. But yeah, there's a bit of a process that we'll go through to help people think this through.
Do you think there's a problem solving that can happen in our minds and our creative imagination can really get into overdrive if we just set the aspiration that we need to change some things? Some things in our family Christmas culture haven't been all that great, but you know what? We can do something. Do you think our minds then sort of start to think about new creative ideas?
Yeah. So I think sometimes for us, we think that people are much more hostile than they actually are. So that's part of where our mind can go, is that, nothing will ever change. So that's one thing. But also, I just think every family is quite different. And so we have different traditions that mean different things. And how do you introduce different things into a family culture? And so, it's pretty fascinating for me, just having a bit of a think about what are some ideas forward.
You know, creating the family culture at Christmas time, this is no doubt important, and particularly for young families, because you might be thinking, well, I grew up and we had our family culture. Now I've got my own family. I need to create a culture here. Yeah. And what you do is important, isn't it? It's not like something, this is not just something you do on the sides. The family culture is really important, really, for this generation and the generations to come.
Yeah. And fascinatingly, like I grew up in a home where people were breaking down traditions, like didn't want to have to do the same thing over and over again. Whereas I feel like this next generation really want to set up traditions, good traditions, and what are they going to be and what are they heading towards and what are the priorities. So, I think it's a pretty lovely moment where people are recognising that, traditions are good for your family and they don't take away from, as long as they don't take away from Jesus, I guess, like in terms of what the priority needs to be. Yeah.
The sorts of things that you might plan for this Christmas, is there something important in setting things up in advance rather than surprising people with the sorts of things you might have planned? Or do you think people actually respond better to when there's a surprise that you've got in store?
Well, it depends on the family, of course, but I tend to go towards asking permission and to let the whole group decide rather than it being forced upon. But I don't know, some families love spontaneity and love surprising sort of things. So it really does depend on the family a bit. And the great thing is if you come along, you know your own family. So you know what things are going to work and what aren't going to work. So,
and I guess, when we can talk about Christmas and the presence of our non-Christian family, sometimes we're thinking of, what happens on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day. But the lead up, the whole Advent season can be a whole lot of fun. And, of course, there are Christmas carol events and things like that.
Yes.
Are these the sorts of things you'd say, well, let's get creative and utilise those more appropriately for our non-Christian family?
Yeah. I just think there are heaps of opportunities around Christmas, and mostly people are more open to religious things around Christmas as well. So I think, let's think about how we can really capitalise on that, not in a take advantage of someone, but be able to create an opportunity if people are interested. So, I just think there is something really lovely about family at this time. Of course, not all families. Some families feel very tense and stressful, but there are just definitely some great things around that we can really tap into.
You said it's the case at Christmas time, people are actually at this time of the year more open to a faith dimension around Christmas. And there's something else you said too, that sometimes we're the ones who are the blockage. The family members might not be as antagonistic or against, a representation of Jesus at Christmas as we think. So is there something in getting a little bit bold and maybe a little more courageous with the things you might do openly with your faith this year?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a bit more openness, especially around, like, I think we have done the hard years of the last 20 years where people have had some more negative impacts around the Christian faith, but there is definitely something shifting, and I think it would be wonderful if we could be a bit more courageous and just set the culture and the tone a bit more, where actually Jesus is an important part of this season, and can this be a bit more part of the culture that we're setting. And you might not get permission, or it might not be received well, but I think it's worth another try is probably what I'm trying to say, and now's a good time to give it another go. Yeah.
A lot of people, their tradition is going to church, whether it's on Christmas Day or whether it's on Christmas Eve, and that might be something that's a culture that's set up in our own tradition from times gone by. If you're a fairly new Christian, that might be a new culture you've got to set up. In some ways here, is it how you sell the opportunity for going along to church? About when I say sell, how you sell to the non-Christian family. Hey, I thought we'd do something different this year. Hey, we're all going to church, and then get ready for the response. Does that work? Do you think?
Yeah, like I think things are worth a try. This is, I am called a bit of a try hard at different points, but yeah, I think things are worth a try. People can always say no, and this is what I always allow people. You can say no, but if there's an opportunity where people might say yes, like that's a great opportunity, because if they say yes, that's can be quite impactful. And it's not just church on a Sunday, it could be other things as well, throughout the lunch or the dinner. Like, there's just different ways that we can interact with Jesus over the time that we're all together. But part of it is setting culture. And how do you go about doing that, I think, is the question.
And overcoming the issue that there might be some unbelieving, even antagonistic, non-Christian adults, but you can't let that block the culture that you want to set up for the children who are coming up, and they need to be aware of the Christmas message. So you've got to be creative. There's a sort of a demand on us, isn't there? You've got to do something that's creative, otherwise you miss a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, and also I would like to reiterate about how most people wouldn't think to ask to come to church, but if they were invited, then they get an opportunity to think, do I want to come or don't I want to come? But not many people would think to ask. And so I think that is part of our, the opportunity that we have, but there might be other opportunities as well other than church and Christmas carols. Like, there's just so many great things we can connect into, and even in our just the actual time together as a family.
So some creative ways around making the invitation and saying, how can we enhance our Christmas this year? How can we make it better than it's ever been? Julianne,
I love it.
You've got your
You're a great seller.
You've got your webinar coming up. Do people need to register to be a part of this webinar?
Yeah. So City to City, if you have a look on there, and if you would like a email about it, and there'll be a link to be able to click into that. And it'll be a really fun hour, just an hour. We just want to have a bit of a think and brainstorm about this. So,
So you can be inspired or offer your 2 bobs worth into the wisdom of people who are meeting online and saying, how do I deal with this? How do I make the most of Christmas with non-Christian family? It's on the 24th of November. Listeners might want to jot down the time, 7:30 to 8:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. It's going to be on Zoom. You can register at City to City Australia. The website there is city2cityaustralia.org.au. And this sideline ministry that you've got going, it's probably more than sideline, rippleeffect.net.au. What's the connection in all of that there, Julianne?
Yeah, so I spend most of my time working with churches. I've worked with about 100 churches so far, helping them to turn around with evangelism. And I've been really thrilled because we've seen double the amount of people come to faith just by relational evangelism is sort of my thing, I guess. It does take a bit of courage to shift the culture. And so part of it is actually joining together and thinking this through and being a bit courageous together, but also very prayerful, like really just praying, God, help us in this. Yeah.
Well, you can connect with Julianne at ripple-effect.net.au, ripple-effect.net.au, and to register for that webinar coming up, citytocityaustralia.org.au. Julianne, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts and your heart with us today on 2020.
Thank you so much for having me, and love it if you could come along. That would be great.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.